Hi everybody, it's Franny and it's time for the oil change on the i8. Now I've already done a proper video on this, so I'll go ahead and link that up above if you want to check that out. But I thought it might be kind of fun while I'm doing this oil change to bring you along and we can chat about some stuff. So what is the status on the Ferrari project? That's kind of a big topic. We're getting some parts back, we still have some parts out, so we have a bit to go on that. We'll cover some other topics as well. I think it's going to be fun. Alright, well my first step is going to be to take the car out, warm it up a little bit, then I'll bring it back, put it on the rack, and I'll get back with you in just a second. Before I start a project, I always like to lay out all my tools and all the stuff I need, write down any torque values I'm gonna need. All that stuff makes it a zillion times easier. Oh, and look at this. Here's some cool parts over here. Do you see those lights? I wonder what car those are for. We'll talk about that in a minute. First step is going to be to remove all this stuff on the top of the engine so we can get to the oil filler cap and so we can pop that off. Just take a second. All right, let me get the oil flowing here. Go ahead and crack this loose real quick like a bunny. There we go, not very tight. All right, well that's draining. So where are we with the Ferrari? What's going on? Well, we sent the A-arms off to a local shop to have all the bushings pushed out of them and replaced with all brand new bushings. They also got completely powder coated. They are back. They look amazing. So we're really happy about that. They're ready to go back in. And what about those shock absorbers, right? So those Coney shocks were original. That whole shock assembly was original to the car. I listened to a lot of the comments. A lot of people said, yeah, you should just get them rebuilt and not put something aftermarket in the car. And same thing goes for the ride height as well. So that's the direction we went. We sent them out to a company in California and got them back. I've opened up one of them so far, but they look perfect. They look brand new, just like they were just ready to install from the factory on the car. So they look amazing as well. The one thing we're missing though is the hardware. We took all the hardware off and sent it all out to Van Nuys for plating, but the problem was we didn't get to it until just about a couple of weeks ago. So they're working on that right now and hopefully it will be back very soon. They actually have a really fast turnaround time for their plating. We just got it out too late. And we've been busy with a few other things. Unfortunately, and this is pretty sad, last weekend we actually had 2 funerals to go to. Really good friends in the car world that had passed away a while back. And because of COVID and all that, they decided to have the services a little bit later. So those were last weekend. And we actually have another one to attend tomorrow. So really sad. But we've been busy with a few other things as well. For me, work has been kind of doubling down on me right now. So I've been super, super busy with that as well. So I'm really hoping to get back to the Ferrari very soon, and you're probably wondering, what about that steering rack? Well, I took the old steering rack out of the car, pulled it out completely, put it on the workbench, and then just kind of put a pair of pliers on it to turn it around and see what the rack itself felt like, and it's kind of grumbly. It doesn't feel smooth at all. It just feels kind of grumbly. And in talking with Jack from number 27, if you remember early on, he did a video where he rebuilt his steering rack as well. And I was talking to him about it and he said, you know what? After all of that, I would have just replaced it or just gotten a rebuilt unit. All the tools you have to buy, all the parts you have to buy, anything that could go wrong with it, it's kind of a pain to fix. And you can actually get new ones for like $200. So we'll see what kind of quality they are, or you can get a rebuilt one as well. So I'll always have that original. That's the nice thing. I'm never going to get rid of the original. It'll always stay with the car. And if somebody wants to go through the fuss of actually rebuilding that thing, they'll have it and they can get to it. But For us, I think what we're going to do is end up replacing that and then all the rubber bushings that it mounts up with as well. That's what's going on with that. And as you saw earlier, those two lights. So the front end of our car has never been correct. It's actually got a grille for an older car. So in order to put a QV grille in, we really need those two lights. Now they look like fog lights, but they're really flash to pass lights. But because the grille kind of stops at the end, you just have a big hole if you didn't have those lights. So sourcing a set of original lights, oh my gosh, that was quite the thing. But I finally found a set in England and they shipped it over and got it off of eBay, and I've got the parts and they look great. They look awesome. So I'm really happy about that. So we're gonna get the correct QV grille and install those lights as well. So we got a lot of stuff coming up on the Ferrari, and I know it seems like it takes forever, but it does. And boy, sourcing parts can really be a thing. That's why I'm working on the i8 today, is just to get some of the general maintenance out of the way. All right, that looks like most of our oil. Let me go ahead and button that back up and we'll get to the oil filter. Next, I'm going to get to this oil filter. There's a little plug on the bottom of this thing that you pull out to drain the oil out of the cup. Kind of interesting. Anyway, let me go ahead and pull that, and there's about maybe a half a cup up there. So for this car, BMW will have you replace that plug at the bottom of the oil cup, and it's actually included in the kit, so that's pretty sweet. I always put a little bit of silicone paste on any of the rubber, the little rubber O-ring there. So always put a little silicone paste on it, makes them go in easier. And then this gets torqued down to like next to nothing. It's like 6 Newton meters or something. So my teeny weeny little torque wrench here. Here we go. That's it. And this is all it is. It's not much torque at all. All right, we can put our filter in next. Go ahead and pop this guy in. It just sort of snaps in. Boom, just like that. And then what I want to do, what I usually do, is fill this up about halfway with oil. It just sort of helps so the engine's not pulling so much air through it when it starts up for the first time. I've replaced the rubber O-ring. It also came in the kit, which is super sweet, and it has a little bit of the silicone grease on it again. So we're ready to reinsert it in the car. And that's it. All right, with that done, let's go ahead and lower the car and put some oil in it, and I'll talk to you a little more about some of the other cars in the garage. And the last bit is just putting the oil back in. It's 4.5 liters. So we're gonna start with the one I use to fill up the filter cup with, so I don't overfill. So what about the other cars in the garage? Well, we have some work we need to do on the 993. The timing chain covers on that car are kind of leaking a little bit and dripping a little bit of oil. So I have a new kit for that with a new set of gaskets and everything. Turn sideways. So other than that, I think the 993 is doing really, really well. Another car we have to spend a little time on is Heidi's Turbo. Oh my gosh, and it's all cosmetic. So that front air dam that's on the front of the car is kind of sacrificial actually, but it's pretty chewed up just from hitting curbs and things like that. Oh, it's really messed up. And then when she came home today, I noticed that there was a piece kind of hanging down in front of one of the wheels, and I think it's for the brakes. It sort of channels air up into the brakes. So it's all mangled and broken, and so I'm gonna have to replace that as well. So that's something we'll have to get to. Now, what about the little 356 Miss Ava? She needs some work as well. The steering column on that has a problem. I think the bushing up at the top of the steering column, it's clamping down on the steering shaft, I guess. So I'm gonna have to pull that out and maybe pull that whole steering column out. I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna have to do to pull that bushing out, but I think that bushing needs to be replaced, certainly. And let's see what else. Oh, brakes. That's a small issue. The brakes on that car are not so awesome. When I go to stop, they tend to swerve a little bit, and I think over the years the car just has mismatched pads and all sorts of things in it. So I want to pull all 4 drums off the car, inspect everything, make sure all of the wheel cylinders are working perfectly, and then I think I'm going to replace every one of the pads just so they're all brand new, and hopefully we'll get that car to just stop just straight. So a little bit of work to do on the 356 coming up. And I bet you're wondering, how is the 3.2 Carrera, Shamu? That car seems to be running really well now. It seems to just be starting, doing its thing, and we've driven it a bit, and it seems to be running just fine. This is our last quart here, so I'm only going to be adding half of it. They've got a nice little sight window here down the front I can check that with. That ought to do it. Yep, and that's it for the oil. It's actually pretty simple. So see, an oil change on one of these kind of fancy-dancy cars really isn't that difficult at all. So there's no need to take these cars down to the service station or down to the dealership or whatever just to do a simple oil change. Pretty straightforward. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed the little update of all the stuff in the garage. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. If you got any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below, and I'll get right to them. Like I said, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. The Ferrari and all the other cars actually need something as well. So we got lots more videos coming out. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now. Hit the little bell next to it to be notified. That way you're not going to miss any of these episodes. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, a very special thank you to our Patreon supporters. Until next time, safe travels. Bye.